What's happening? Welcome back. This is my Patreon live stream for December 17th. We here, we bold, we good. How y'all doing, man? How you doing? Let me get the music right, man. I'm sorry I'm late. Shit, I've been cooking in the kitchen. You know, I'm a little late, but we here though. Hello to my boy DJ, Joshua, Ahmed, Anna. How you doing, man? Nina. Oh man, so good to see you, everybody, man. We here. How you doing? Still have time to grab popcorn. Oh man, is my head bald or fucking what? It looks like I don't have a single goddamn hair on my head. I just made a stinky in my pants by accident. See, I was so amazed to see you, Angel. Oh man, better a stinky than a pinky. Shit. Let's get started, man. Got a lot to talk about. As always, gotta be doing some critiques, gotta be doing some rants. Got a lot of stuff to talk about, man. Look at all these paintings, man. I'm so happy you guys are sending me stuff. We're here to get better and shit, and to talk about mindset stuff. So let's get started with Esther, man. We had a talk with Esther, and she's been getting so much better. Look at that shit. Wait, where is that? Look at that shit, man. Esther has been killing it. Look at those lines. Look at that structure, man. This is what I'm talking about. Doing the structure on top of the head, then doing it freehand, and then just doing it the line art on top of the planes. Really, like, she's been getting so much better, man. I think she's ready for the next step, which is the shading. But I just kind of want to see her do a little bit of that line art a little bit more. So I wanted to mention a couple of things. The first one, I'm so happy that Esther kind of understood the cheekbone structure, but I see a little bit of mistakes right here where the cheekbone is, like the goddamn triangle. It's alright, everybody has a problem with the triangle, but the triangle is going to be a little bit up, like the way that Esther did it, baby. You gotta, I can see you only, we can't see. Oh shit, I forgot. Oh damn. Yeah, I forgot that I don't have my desktop. Alright, this is better, right? Thank God I looked in my my comments. I was like, man, what are they commenting about? I'm gonna read the comments later. Let me do critiques right now. And you just see my bold ass head just doing nothing. Oh yeah, I got you, Nina. Got you. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so the triangle. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. By the way, it would be so funny. I was like, dude, there, look at Nina though with my bold ass head. Like, she's doing so much better, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, look at that though, like the structure on top of the reference, then the structure freehand, and then the line art on top of the structure, just straight up killing it. The only thing is this triangle right here. It needs to go up a little bit, and I can kind of see it in all of her work. You know, it's kind of like became a habit a little bit, but just to kind of make, like, see how Esther, you see all of the cheekbones are a little bit down, like they need to be raised up. By the way, that's that's my face. Those are the lips that I'm looking for, man. This is everything I want in life, is those lips. So I feel like you can raise a little bit more. Like, for example, that triangle, like the cheekbone is going to be right here. So especially in this front view, you're not gonna see much of the cheekbone. But you're gonna see some of that triangle, and all of this thing that you're seeing right here is not going really to be triangle. I think people get it wrong a lot, and I didn't really explain it in the past. Like, this thing right here is going to be skin and muscle, you know what I'm saying? The triangle is going to be, actually the triangle is skin and muscle too, but that thing is more going to be part, let me explain this. That thing is more going to be part of the jaw, right? And the triangle thing is more part of the cheek. So the triangle is how the cheek goes out, and then the mouth starts, right? So when the mouth starts is where all of these things below the triangle begin. So I feel like if you raise it just a little bit, it'll kind of work a lot better, just kind of like on the proportions, and it'll just make a lot more sense, and it'll just look a ton better. Another thing is kind of like the neck. Like, I don't know what's up with the reference model. Like, he kind of has this Quasimodo thing happening over here, but I feel like you can definitely work on the neck, definitely make it thinner. Like the thing about the neck is that it will never really get a lot wider than how it starts. So if it starts like this, it's not really gonna get like that, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be straight, but the tricky thing about the neck is that you have to make it straight, but you have to put in a little bit of a curve, right? Anna says, I restarted the browser and now I see the stream. Alright, I'm happy it works. So the thing is, another thing I wanted to mention is just kind of like the lines. Like you, I've talked about this before, but I think I've kind of like figured out a new way to explain it. So instead of you just doing the lines on top of the planes, I really want you to imagine as if you're still doing lines with you're still doing the planes with the lines. Like I feel like a lot of people were doing this exercise correctly, and then they start doing the lines on top and they're like, oh great, I'm just gonna go back to my old habits. So they just start drawing their lines that they used to draw. And definitely the mouth is a lot better, like you can see how it's with the planes. But basically what I want to see from Aster, baby, I want you to Esther, not Aster. I want you to really see how you're working those planes. So instead of you just completely starting a new line, like see how you started just a completely new line. By the way, let me get the resolution a little bit higher. Oh, it's actually high? What's happening then? So instead of you starting out like a completely new line, like for example the eyebrow or the eye, I feel like the eye is especially a good example, because you see how great she actually drew it in here. Like you can see all of the planes, you see all of the turnings. I feel like that would be such a great eye if you just spend more time refining it. I feel like when you're doing the planes, there's nothing wrong with just, you know, doing these clean ass lines, you know, kind of like thinner and stuff. But when you're doing this, like more of the line art, I want you to kind of start working and practicing a little bit of that line weight. So for example, the cheek is not going to have the same powerful lines as the eye. Or for example, this bottom eyelid is not going to be as dark as the eye itself. So I want you to start really thinking about this and kind of like going over the lines and really thinking about how they're gonna be more, how they're gonna produce more volume, right? For example, the eye, I really want you to go in and really think about the form of the eye and really spend a lot of time looking at the reference. Like I feel like also people just, once it gets to the line art, like they just kind of like freestyle it. They're like, they stop looking at the reference so much. They're like, whoa, okay, line art time, I'm just gonna draw it pretty, you know. I want you to still look at a lot of the line art, look at a lot of the reference, right? So if you look at the reference, you can kind of see how this eye is actually raised like that. The way that Esther did it is she did it kind of like straight. So really spend more time looking at the angles and really looking at like the forms and stuff. For example, you see how this eye has this form, right? And then in here it just looks like an almond, right? So spend more time looking at the line art, and really, now that you're on this stage with the lines, I really want you to start feeling like you're drawing from this reference. Because with the structure, I can't really judge you, you know, you're just doing some structure shit. It's not like, you can't expect this to look like the reference. So spend more time just thinking about is this model, you know what I'm saying? And you're doing great. Like I feel like if I was to do some line art, it wouldn't be that much better than yours, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you're doing bad or anything, but I just feel like you can just think about that line art a little bit more. Because the thing is, once we get to the shading part, you can't really fix bad line art with shading, you know what I'm saying? Like you're kind of like stuck with whatever you have. So I really like how you leave the plane, so just keep doing that. I want to see at least like 10-20 more. And by the way, I want you to focus on hair a little bit, because I feel like with Esther we've kind of like been behind on the hair. Like for example, this Esther, I want you to actually go in with a sketch and actually develop and actually draw the structure of this hair, because you've gotten so good with the face, and once we get to the painting of the hair, I mean with the painting of the face, you're gonna have to paint the hair, and I don't feel like you have you know, the same skill that you have with the line. So I actually want you to start breaking on top of the reference. I want you to start breaking the hair and really thinking about how you're gonna break it into different parts, the same way that you're breaking out the head. And it's gonna be really hard at first. I'm gonna give you critiques and everything. You're doing great with the outline, but just I want you to start doing it, you know, inside, and really start thinking about, again, big shapes. So imagine if this whole thing is just one big plane and there's another plane, you know what I'm saying? Just kind of feel like 3D form, right? So do more of these. That's kind of like the main critiques. Think about the cheekbones, think about the lines, and just practice the hair. She also did a couple of figures. I wanted to mention that the figures, yeah, to think about big forms. So the thing that I'm noticed in her work with the gestures, let me get that music, by the way, a little bit down because I feel like it's too loud. Oops, forgot to do that. Whoops. Yep. That's me though. That's me half of the stream. Whoops. Whoops. So the thing about these figures that I feel like can be better is that you see how in this figure sketch you were thinking about the whole thing, like you were thinking about big forms, like you were thinking about the torso connecting to the pelvis, you know. And in this one I feel like you went more with like the outline. So every time you're thinking about the torso, I really want you to practice thinking about it as just one big form, and really think about the connection between the torso and the pelvis. Like this is something I'm gonna talk about DJ. I feel like DJ is getting so much better with the figures, but he started doing this weird shit where it looks like he's just drawing their spine. Like I want you to actually draw this connection. So spend time thinking about how is the torso with the rib cage connecting to the pelvis, and all of these overlapping lines. Like for example, something really important in this pose that you have to show is that there's going to be a turning. So you're gonna see some of that top. And by the way, I forgot to mention that when you're doing the bean, it's really important to do the center line. So you have to imagine where is this center line going to be, whether it's the pelvis or the torso, because that center line is going to show the rotation, right? Like it's going to show that this is actually doing this. And then you also have to show how she's looking backwards, you know, like in yours she looks like she's just looking straight. The way that you do that is you have to show a little bit to raise that shoulder, get the shoulder a little bit lower, and just kind of like bring in that twist, so that like this shape right here is going to be really important. Like the way that you do it is just straight. So anyway, this is kind of like more advanced stuff, but just keep doing those. Like you can't expect that you're gonna do like 2 figures sketches and you're gonna get it, you know what I'm saying? Like I've probably done thousands. So just do more and more and more, and I'm gonna mention like, you know, important things like this just to kind of keep in mind. But this is definitely better though. This is one of the better ones. Just kind of like be doing more like this. So anyway, this is for Esther. Let's move on, man. Who's next? I think it's DJ. Yeah. So DJ, man, he did this little exercise, this little reference. I wanted to kind of talk about it because he kind of ruined the planes. DJ, I don't know what you did with the planes, man, but they kind of wrong. I don't know, like you started inventing all of these weird planes, all of this shit. I wanted to kind of show you what the right ones are going to be. So first of all, I really like the lane that you did with the red. So this is going to be like this. Actually, this is going to be a little bit higher. This is going to be a little bit higher, so it kind of connects with the whole eye area. And I feel like the main problem with the breakdown that DJ did is not thinking about the mouth. So the whole mouth area is going to be like a one big circle. You know, if you watch the video, I kind of show an apple. So you have to imagine that the cheekbone is going to be going like this, and then it's going out, and then it's overlapping with the whole mouth area. So this is not even the lips. Like if you look at it really closely, it's a great photo actually, because the lips are overlapping the skin. DJ says I had to improvise and adapt to my dummy brain. Well, how about you just rely on the things I'm telling? How about a little bit less improvising? Because that's I don't know if that's improvisation right here. So the main thing is to think about, and this angle doesn't really make sense. So this is real improvisation. Like if you see it in this, like you actually did it right in the reference. So see how it's going out, going in, then there's a circle for the for like the mouth area, and then it's going to be going out like this, and then it's going out like this. It's almost like straight, you know, it's going like this and like this. And the way that you did it freehand is just one big stylization, you know. I mean, that would be pretty if you were actually good. Like if you were actually to become more advanced, you can do shit like this and pull it off. But I feel like when you're first kind of like beginning to learn, I feel like you should stick with more of the reference. So this is it for this, the mouth area. And then let me explain the cheeks. So for the cheeks, the best thing to start with is this cheekbone right here, which is going to be more, I feel like this is a great reference because you can really see the triangle. So actually, I'm so glad I pulled this up so I can show you more of this, because people have a lot of problems with the triangle. So see how it's really obvious that the triangle is here. Like for most references, people think that it's right here, you know, like where the line of the mouth is. So where the line of the mouth is, there's gonna be a little bit more free space. Like this whole free space is going to be, imagine it as if it's like fat coming from the, it's like a whole other muscle, but it's like almost similar to the mouth. And this thing, it's not the mouth at all. Like this whole thing is going to be the cheek, right? So this is like the triangle is showing where the cheek is ending and when the whole mouth is starting. So it's not gonna end right here where the crease is, but it's gonna end right here, which is like the bone. So the bone is going to be coming in like this, and the triangle is going to be like the skin is going to start. He said, I'm best at scouting out references. Yeah, you're pretty good at that. I'm gonna give you that. You're pretty good at that. So I feel like I can't even tell in the one that you did which one is the cheekbone. Like this seems to be a cheekbone, and then like the way that you drew it, the triangle is touching the nose. Like you can clearly see how in the reference it's not touching the nose. Like the nose is going to be touched by this mouth other muscle, right? And then the cheek is going to be here. So the triangle is right here, the cheekbone is right here, and there's going to be a little bit of space. And then you see how, because he has these really developed muscles, like this whole thing is going to look like it's like just one big plane, and on the bottom you're gonna have another kind of plane like this, right? So I feel like you added a couple of weird planes. Like let's say this is the cheekbone, it's actually supposed to go back a lot, like it's going to be ending, you know, if you drop, like a lot of times I'll just use kind of like visual points just to kind of orient myself. Like if you drop a straight line from the corner of the eye down, it's gonna hit the triangle, right? And if you drop it in here, it's hitting the cheekbone, right? So the cheekbone needs to go back a lot. This is like when people ask me like how do I find proportions and stuff, you just do a lot of that measuring. Like for example, how do you find the nose? If you know where the eye is, you just do straight lines like this, and you find the nose, and then you find the triangle, and then the corner of the mouth is going to be half of the eye. Like I'll just do weird measurements like this just to kind of check my drawing, for example. So I think that's the main thing about this reference, is just the cheek area. And also, as always, he just kind of overdid this whole eye area. Like the eye area, my guy, the eye area is going to end right here, right? Like this whole thing is going to be part of the cheek. Like this whole thing is going to be another plane coming from the cheekbone. But the way that you did it, it just makes it look like this is from the eye, and it just makes it look like he has these really big eye bags. Like the eye bags are going to finish right here, right? So don't make him older than he is. So yeah, I want you to practice more like this. Like I want you, DJ, to really find some references where the cheekbones are kind of obvious, so you can practice them more. Like don't get this I think the other example, yeah, don't get any fuckboys like this, because these ones are really like confusing you a lot, and they end up with better drawings because, you know, you can kind of lie to yourself. But I want you to find some good ass strong man to fuck you, no, I mean to study. And then right here on the edge is going to be the triangle, which is going to be like wrapping on the end of the cheek, right? I feel like the way, like a lot of people, I think a lot of people get it wrong, because you know, if you look at the planes of the head, it's actually a lot bigger than most references. Like in most references, you can kind of see how it's really just kind of like behind a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just sitting in the back. And then in here, sometimes like you're gonna have this bone. I mean, not sometimes, you're gonna always have this, but sometimes you might have like a middle plane, but in this reference, in this light, it's not really that obvious. So this whole thing is going to be one big plane. And then obviously you're gonna have another one for this kind of like eye bag. It's not even the eye bag, it's kind of like the eye socket. And then you're gonna have the nose one, and then here is this whole mouth thing, right? So those are going to be the planes. DJ said, I'm constantly lying to myself. It's okay, buddy, we're all lying to each other. I mean, to each other's selves. So I kind of like what you did with the light one and the reflective light. That's definitely right. So just keep practicing more with these references. I really want you to practice the cheekbone, my guy. You know what? Maybe you can actually redo this. I'm gonna send you this on your email. I hope I don't forget, but DJ sent. I'm gonna send you this on your email, and I want you to, by looking at this, to really redo this and send it to me next week, and then we can kind of like see the improvement. And then, as I said about, let me talk about this. As I said about the figure gestures, I want you to think about the connection between the torso and the pelvis. So you see how this pelvis is going to be like, it comes like this, and then see how it's overlapping with the torso. Like this torso is going to be overlapping with this. So I want you to really think about that connection and just really show it, because and really just show the stretch of the abs right here, because I feel like that's really gonna make you think about how they're connecting to each other, because it looks kind of cool like this, you know, it feels structural, but I feel like you're not really practicing that torso. So I feel like the hips are going to come up a little bit, you know, and then they're gonna connect to this thing. Then you're gonna have, and I want you to start kind of like outlining the rib cage a little bit. Like you can kind of feel how over here there's gonna be a rib cage, you know, like it's gonna be like this. Still draw the box, but just think about the rib cage, just draw it kind of like a little bit of that. And then in the middle of the rib cage there's gonna be the, you know, all of the muscles of the stomach and shit. And then you're gonna have the stretch, and then you're gonna have these hips right here. So just keep doing more of these. I want you to kind of like think a little bit more about the head. I feel like you always just do it as this like small ass circle. Like think about it as this bigger oval, you know what I'm saying? Just look at that, like just one oval, and it just adds a lot more, I feel like a lot more structure to the whole figure rather than this weird ass circle. So this is it for DJ. Keep practicing, buddy. Let's go. We got another Patreon that's actually DJ's friend, and he's gonna be paying for her or something. So he sent me her work, and she's been getting some likes actually, and she actually had a question, because I asked DJ like what are her goals, like what is she trying to do with her art, because every time I get people with like, you know, already developed styles, I always ask like, what is your goal? Because listen, if you don't want to get better, if you don't want to earn money, if you don't want to do anything with art, and you just want to keep drawing like this, like who the fuck am I? Oh yeah, her name is Swain. Okay, I think I wrote it here, DJ FR Swain. So the thing is, like, who the fuck am I to tell you to be doing all of this weird shit with the planes? You know, I'm just like, this is kind of like hard to you know, to admit, but all of this shit is what just worked for me. Like, you know, I'm just out here trying to show you what worked for me with getting better with portraits and in drawing in general. But if you want to get better at just drawing anime and all this shit without having any, you know, structure and shit, I don't feel like that's a big problem, you know. But if you want to kind of get better at, you know, having some structure and shit, I feel like you can't really keep on going with this highly stylized paintings, because as I've mentioned before, you're really trapping yourself. Because you see this eye, like this is gonna be a great example. If you look at this eye and you look at this eye, you can see how really closely they are to just the same ass model. You know what I'm saying? Like really, even though the eyebrows give her expression, you can immediately tell. And not even the eyes, like the mouth, the nose, like the little ass nose. Like when you don't study how to actually draw a nose, you're trapped drawing the same ass nose, or you just draw these big ass cucumber nose. You know what I'm saying? The Instagram page isn't hers. Oh, you mean this one? I don't know. I think I can tell. Yeah, this one. I don't think it's hers. But yeah, so the thing is, what is your goal? Like, I always start out there with new patrons. And by the way, if you're a new patron, dude, send me your work. I wanna fucking help. Like, I'm here. Like, even though I got a lot of people, like I'll stay here for 2 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like, send me more work. I just wanna, like, I really wanna teach myself how to teach this shit, because I feel like I'm getting better from this live stream. So if you got some fucking questions, man, hit me up with anything. Like, don't be afraid to ask. Like, somebody once said, oh, I don't have any work for today, but it's like less work for you, so that's all right. And I'm like, bitch, I don't wanna, this is not even work. Like, I'm sitting here talking about my dick and talking about circles. Like, this is not even work. You know what I'm saying? Like, this shit, I want to get better at it. So if you got some questions, if you want to get better, fucking ask me anything. So Swain, DJ, wrote me that her goal is to, I want to eventually be able to sell prints or do commissions and shit. That sounds like I described it, commissions and shit. But I don't know. I've wanted to get good enough to make comics or a graphic novel, but I haven't made a nice story ideas yet. Okay, so I think this is a really big problem right here, but I don't know. So, and I mean, I kind of get that it's just a way of expressing yourself, but the biggest problem is that, I wrote it here, is that prints are going to be really different than novels. Nina says, that's what I thought today and I didn't send anything, but really I was just lazy this week. Oh yeah, see, just don't blame it on me though. Like, you gotta realize, you don't send anything because you're lazy. It's not like less work for me. Like, I just, like, shit, listen, man, I want to get better together, you know what I'm saying? Like, just fucking grow. So anyway, what I wanted to say is that prints, like what Swain said, are gonna be really, really different than creating graphic novels. So I feel like when you're first starting out, like, you can both do, of course you can do both commissions and prints and graphic novels, but eventually, like, you know what I'm saying, like as she said, eventually, like when you're first starting out, I feel like you should focus on something, because this shit is too hard already. So if you don't really know what you want to get better at, you're just gonna confuse yourself even more. So in the beginning, just, you have to decide, and it's not an easy choice, because I know, like, oh, do I want to get better at this or do I want to get better at that? But you just have to choose something and stick with it, because even though, like, I deal with these people all the time, like, even though I'm not really good with landscapes, like, landscapes are not really my thing, because I've spent so much time just painting, I've kind of like developed a way to kind of like almost cheat on how to make, or like, sort of aesthetic landscapes, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm still working on it a lot and shit. But I'll just do like studies like this just to practice painting more abstract shit. But my point was, I've spent a lot of time painting in general, so I feel like I can, at this point, not be very good at everything, but just, I can make a decent, you know, whatever, if I got a reference, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like the more you have a goal in the beginning, the more it's gonna drive you to get better at that one thing, so you can get better in general, you know? And a lot of people get confused and they practice this, they practice that, and at the end of the day, they don't, you know, they can't do any of that. So what I wanted to say is that, because looking at her work, it's really different. The main thing is that if you want to sell prints, all right, and you want to do commissions, that's going to be more of illustration. So what that means is that you're going to be paid to be doing more finished work, like more of this kind of like pretty pictures, what I call pretty pictures. And that's really what I'm for. Like I've always been just for like pretty pictures, like aestheticness, you know, all of this shit. And for little illustration, what you need to be really focusing on is just getting better with structure, then getting better with color, then all this shit, you know what I'm saying, like kind of building on it gradually. When it comes to graphic novels and what did she say, graphic novels and just like creating comics or something, that's more going to be like concept, like that's more you coming up with ideas, like that's more coming up with interesting poses, you know. For illustration, when you're doing like more aesthetic work, it kind of like goes down to you developing something pretty. When it comes to a graphic novel, it's you coming with something interesting. Does that make sense? Like I think that's the main difference. So it's gonna be super different, you know, on whatever you want to work with. And I gotta admit, like I'm not like, concept is not really my thing. Like I can teach you, you know, how to kind of get better at figure drawing, but coming up with novels and comics and all this shit, like how can I teach you that when I haven't done a single fucking novel or a comic in my life, you know? Like really illustration is, and especially portraits, is really what I'm about. So for Swain, I think the most important thing, not even to critique your work, because I feel like that's not even gonna help you that much. The most important thing is to decide what you want to get better at, because I feel like right now what I said is you're trapped into drawing this certain kind of a style, sort of a style, and you're not really getting anywhere, because obviously you don't even know where you want to go. So decide in what direction you want to go and just try to get better at that, you know. Like I'm really here helping people with portraits, so if portraits is something we want to get better at, I'm gonna help you with doing like the structure sketches, because like even though you use the reference for this and it kind of looks like her with the hair and everything, like it's the furthest thing from her, because I've always said, like, how are you really gonna get better at drawing this? Like you might get a little bit drawing like more pretty eyes or something, but you're not really gonna get like what the face is about, because I'm gonna show you the fucking great example, by the way. So let's say you want to paint something like, let me see, there's this really great artist that I wanted to show you. Even like this one, like Samuel Unard. Like see how basic this face looks, but he has spent so much. Oh, this is what I wanted to show you there. Pernille Aureum. I don't know if you know this girl, but actually let me open up her Instagram. Like she's been doing this kind of like comics and shit, and just working on portraits. And the thing about this, like if you want to do more like this one, because I'm guessing with this highly stylized shit, you want to create something like this. But what people don't realize time and time again is that this girl has been painting for like 20 years. Like I'm pretty sure she's like 30 or something. She's married. You know, she's been to like 5 different art schools. She's worked for like companies. So when she's doing a portrait like this, what goes in that is a lot of years of practice with her drawing portraits. When you try to draw a highly stylized portrait in your first like an intermediate, you know, you've been drawing for like a couple of years, you're really cheating yourself, because you don't have that information. Like look at that hand, like dude, look at those hands that Pernille has drawn. Like you can't tell, you cannot convince me that you can just come up with that style, you know. You're never gonna understand how to draw stylized hands like this if you just keep drawing stylized hands. Like you have to understand how to draw a real hand in order to draw a hand like this, you know. Like I think for this week, Chris tried to draw a hand, and even like Josh, man, like look at those hands, like, you know what I'm saying. Like those are actually, she has a really great hand here, you know what I'm saying. Like if you don't study the structure, anatomy of hands, you're not gonna be like, look at that, look at Chris, like that looks like a potato hand, you know what I'm saying. I mean, my hands are kind of awful as well, but you have to spend a lot of time doing the structure. Anyway, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I just wanted to tell you, even if you're trying to get to like a really high place, you gotta respect the grind and know what you do to get better, you know what I'm saying. That would be kind of like you're fat and you want to get abs, So you start doing, you know, for example, like side crunches, like for your side muscles, and it's like, dude, you're fucking 400 pounds. Like those side things are when you're actually lean and you already have the abs, and you're just doing, you know, like the perfection sets, like you're just trying to perfect your muscles. Like right now we're just trying to get that weight off of you so you can actually start building the abs, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know if that made any fucking sense, but my thing is, man, you gotta work on the structure. Like you gotta work on the basics, like just losing the weight and becoming, you know, like a fit person, and then we can work on the abs and all this shit. So anyway, I hope that made sense. Again, choose whatever the fuck you want to do, and then if portraits and doing this structural shit is something that you want help with, you send me some emails, and you know, I'm gonna be doing weekly critiques. I'm here, so I'm gonna help you with that. So anyway, I hope this helps, Swain and DJ man. So next up we have Anna. That was a long ass rant. Next up we have Anna, man. Anna's been doing a lot of work. Let me drink some water though. Anna's been doing a lot of work, like 3 paintings a week. That's a lot, Anna, man. I'm so happy with you. I'm so happy. She actually did the challenge that I'm doing on my Discord with this reference. I really love it. Dude, look at that perspective. She did a pretty good job on that fucking perspective. By the way, in my own painting, I feel like I made the head a little bit too big, and now I kind of regret it. Yeah, but this painting is so good, and I'm proud of you, baby, man. You're getting so much better. Like, look at this is the feel. Like, it's amazing. This one is amazing. I really like it. But the other ones, like this one, this portrait right here, a couple of things I wanted to mention about it. So let me open it in Photoshop. And the other one, this one, I feel like this one is pretty good, but it's wait. Chris says, no, wait, I have small hands like a famao. What is even that word though? Whoa, she's forgetting giving you her work. Said DJ. It's alright. It's alright, baby, man. Chris says, how you doing? I'm doing good, buddy. I'm doing good. My hair ain't though. My hair definitely ain't doing good. I don't know what that word means. I have big hands. Well, I got a small dick, so it's all good. Yeah, so this one is pretty good. I feel like you can kind of clean up the face a little bit. What I really wanted to talk about is this one, because I feel like I can give you some valuable advice for this one. So first of all, I kind of like the reference that you chose for like the aestheticness, but I feel like when it comes to the skin, and I'm sure you're gonna agree with this, is that the face doesn't really have a lot of structure. So that's a big problem, because when you're painting, you can't really, you know what I'm saying, you can't really, like, how are you gonna paint this? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's way too what's the word, like, it's not clear, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, you can't really tell. And by the way, that's a horrible fucking wig, because you can totally tell that it's a wig. But oh, Chris tried to spell female 3 times and he failed. Alright, I have small hands like a female. Alright, that's fuck material right there. That's fucking material right there. So what I wanted to mention about this reference, especially for references with like soft lighting like this, is that you have to exaggerate. So when I say exaggerate, is you have to kind of imagine a little bit of lightning to kind of just make it more interesting. Like, for example, this hair feels kind of like it's flat, because I feel like you're kind of like missing those you know, drop shadows, like a lot of the structural shadows. So I feel like if you just, like, let me show you just a couple of shadows just to kind of like show that the face is going to be a lot more 3D. I feel like it's gonna improve it a lot more, you know what I'm saying? Like, even that, like, look at that. I feel like it just gives the face a form. So my whole thing is, when you're working with references like this, you have to really imagine where the planes are going to be, because the face is so flat. And again, as always, I say that, you know, the planes are so confusing that if you start out with like people, like, you know what I'm saying, like DJ barely got the planes and he had a really obvious reference. Like, how are you gonna get the planes with these flat ass female reference that she has such a young skin that there's no, you know what I'm saying, like, there's no bones, there's no muscles, there's no nothing. So I feel like that's kind of a confusing reference. I wouldn't really choose it, but I really like the top shit, like the thing. I really like how you smirked the lipstick. That's kind of cool. So yeah, just definitely think a lot more about the shadows. I like that you actually try to do some colors into the transitions, like for example like this colored red. I feel like you can exaggerate it even more, like for example adding like a whole bunch of blush like right here. I feel like it's gonna add like a lot more feel to the portrait. And another thing is just adding structure to the hair. Like for the hair, I feel like you kind of cheated yourself with this really just the same brush strokes going in like this. I feel like you should have actually thought a little bit more about the structure and again exaggerated, because if you for example think about this like as a plane and then another plane, and then even in here like you can, like whenever you have straight hair, alright, this is gonna be, I feel like I'm gonna paint this to show you. Whenever you have straight hair like this, you have to really come up with your own kind of like waves and stuff to kind of make it more interesting, because you see what happens, like it just ends up like looking like a wig. So the way that I'd probably draw it is I'd make these things look like they're interacting with each other. Like for example, you can actually pull out, I think it's kind of happening but you're not really seeing it, like this piece of hair is going in like this, and then the one behind it is going to be going behind it. You know, you need to show that all of these planes are going to be interacting. That's the word, interacting with each other. You know, like for example you can add this big ass crease in here, and then you have another piece kind of going in like this, and then it's coming out, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just playing around with the form and just putting maybe some things that might not really be there, but just to kind of like add some interesting flow. Let me see some paintings that I've done to kind of like illustrate my point. Like even with this, like see how this is super straight, but you can really see where those individual planes are going to be. Like for example this, like see how it's coming out, you know, and in here you have a big ass piece for a shadow, you know. It's just a lot of thinking about the form and not just kind of doing it like this. Anna says it's very difficult. I know, baby. I wanted to learn how to make a smooth face. Oh, okay, I get it. That was a good practice then. It's difficult. It's difficult to do the smooth face. It's difficult to do straight hair. But hey, it's difficult to live stream. It's difficult to fucking work. Like everything is difficult. So you do more. You just do more, and it gets easier. But if you want to practice some soft faces, I would actually advise you to maybe go back to black and white. I know Anna doesn't want to hear this, but I feel like if you go back to black and white, at least you wouldn't be thinking about the colors, you know, because right now you have the colors, you have the edges, and it's a little bit too confusing. And I can kind of see you. And by the way, please, when you're doing the eyelashes, man, I want you to really group them and kind of think about them. Like it's a lot more aesthetic than just doing these small as eyelashes. Anyway, do more portraits. This is it for this one. By the way, the hair of the eyebrow is gonna be a lot more saturated, because right now it just looks like she's an old lady. Like you need to add a little bit of that saturation to just kind of connect it to the red. And by the way, congratulations on putting this purple. Like that's such a life, it always difficult. Yeah, that's true. Congratulations on putting this purple behind the berries. Like it really looks it looks a lot better, because I feel like a lot of people just draw it like this desaturated dark and you just look weird. Like look at that purple, how much form it adds. But anyway, pretty good job. Just work a little bit more on the structure, like, you know, the planes of the hair and just shadows and stuff. Like I'm not even saying like you can still draw a smooth face. Like it's just all about you just adding like a little bit of shadows. Like for example, drop shadows are always going to be necessary. Like even if it's a smooth face, if you just add a little bit of a drop shadow, like right here and like right here, and just on the edges of the hair, it's just gonna make it feel a lot more 3D. So this is it for Anna. I hope it helps. Next up we have Ahmed, man. We have my boy Ahmed. He's done 2 portraits. I haven't really seen him do any exercises. I don't know why, but those portraits are pretty good. Those portraits are pretty good. Some pencils rendering, some interesting effects and shit. But the first thing I wanted to say is that Ahmed, and you know this, you've been excusing yourself with the hair. So I don't know what type of hair this is, but you drew it the same way in both references. So I want you to actually start practicing more hair and don't slack it off, because like people practice, like you obviously have gained a lot of experience with that head, you know, with the face. So imagine if you keep getting better with the face and then you don't get better with the hair. Like it's always gonna be like this. Joshua says, Angel, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I reference he has a super soft face, it's because of a filter, right? People don't normally look that soft. There's a couple of different things. I think the main one would be makeup, not really a filter. Like just chicks with makeup, they can make everything look super soft. Like, but pretty much makeup is like paint on top of the face. Like it's almost like a filter, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely chicks, like, you know, if they're kind of younger, their face would look kind of soft, but it doesn't hurt to just, like, that's the thing about the planes and you understanding these things is you know how to paint a soft face, but just add a little bit of structure to show that you understand. Like, for example, look at this. This is a great fucking example, like Max Greco. So see how this whole face, like the whole cheek and everything, it looks like it's kind of flat, you know, it looks smooth. But then I mean, it doesn't look flat, it looks smooth. So then he understands oh dude, let me talk about this, because this is a great fucking example. I'm so happy Joshua brought this up, man. So like, see those planes that I was talking about exactly actually in DJ's work. Let me find DJ's work though. Like this cheekbone, like the whole cheekbone, and then this right here. So can you recognize how this and this will be the same as this and this? But because, and also like this as well, like this whole thing, and then this, right? So every face will have the same structure. It's just that the proportions and the edges and the colors and the lighting, like all of these things make it look different. But the thing is, a human's face would be a human face. Even like the gender is different, it's still gonna have the same planes. They're just kind of in a different place, and they're kind of like exaggerated a little bit. So when you understand all of these different planes, you can show a lot with just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, just you see some of that. Let me, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna try. Let's see what happens if I just remove this, and it's just gonna. I feel like it's gonna lose a lot of it, a lot of the feel. It's just the cheekbone in general. And I mean, it's not gonna, you know, make that much of big of a difference, because like the whole face is painted so good that just this small thing is not gonna ruin it. But if you just look at that one piece, it makes the whole thing, like, it no longer looks like it's flat like that. Like, it doesn't look like it's flat like this, but it actually looks like this plane is going in like this, and then it's coming out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it makes you look like the whole thing is in planes. So anyway, my whole point was that there's nothing wrong with practicing soft portraits, but I feel like if you don't really understand the structure shit, it's gonna play a weird card on you, because you're gonna understand how to paint pretty portraits, but you're always going to lag that structure. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, Ahmed. So the thing about Ahmed, he'd been doing good. I don't really know why he kind of stopped the exercises, but we're gonna talk this weekend. He's gonna explain himself. A couple of things I wanted to mention is, first of all, you have to think about, like, this is I feel like it's kind of a boring reference, because there's not really any type, and this one as well, like, there's not really any type of real lightning. So you feel like you just shaded this. It's just kind of like the same generic shading, like, you know, like if you remember Frankie has that, like this just generic, and the thing is, you might get a little bit better at just shading, like when you're doing the generic shading, but you're not, again, gonna understand the whole structure of the hair. Like, for example, this, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just kind of like you shading the face with like a general light coming from the top or from the camera, and it's just like you're just shading on the edges. And I want to show you a really good example I pulled out for this exact piece. Like, I don't know who this Kludwig is from. This is from Kludwig. I wanted to kind of show you how, when you understand how the proportions work, like you understand the structure and everything, you can really play around with the light and the shading and make gorgeous effects with even like not things that don't really make sense. Like, for example, see how he skipped all of the planes around the mouth, but then he made the nose super dark. Like, that doesn't, you know what I'm saying, like that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it just looks so good. And he understands how to draw a nose. Like, a lot of artists will do that, like just make the nose darker so it kind of looks a little bit more red and it just stands out a little bit, like, you know, it just, I don't know, I'm a huge fan of that effect, and just like the cheekbones and the lips and the eyes. So it's all about you understanding where to put that light and where to put those shading and where not to put it. Like, for example, if you clean up like this mouth area with that shading, like there's a lot of unnecessary shading was my whole thing, you know. So I feel like the best advice I can give you for this is just to go for better references and just not practice that much shading, just practice structure, you know. And another thing is, I feel like you kind of went for that boring angle. Like, if you look closely, you can see how everything is super straight, you know, like everything is going to be. Chris says, so is it okay for it to not make sense as long as it looks good? Yes, that's totally okay, but if you know what you're doing, like that's what I think people don't understand. Like, you can't, like, it's really hard to fake it, and I don't think if you're a beginner or an intermediate you can really do it. Like, I'm sure this person Kludwig, I don't know who he is, but I'm sure he has spent like so many years just practicing drawing a portrait, you know what I'm saying? So Dino says, clown woman drawing looks like Mada Garrett. Oh, okay. Oh, he deleted that. I don't know who that is, but all right. So Chris, man, like, it's okay, like everything is okay, like this is art, you know what I'm saying? Like, everything would be okay, like it'd be okay to just draw triangles all day, but the question is, what is the goal? If your goal is, you know, to get better, it wouldn't just make sense to draw triangles. So I feel like you need to find a balance of between what looks good and what gets you better, you know what I'm saying? So there's this really just really close balance of finding references that will get you kind of better, but that are not gonna be fun to draw, you know what I'm saying? Why does it look good though, says Chris? That's a good question. I think I'll have to kind of spend some time thinking about it. I think maybe because, like, you've seen so many other artists do it. Like, for example, not to shit on Swain's work, but you've seen so many anime stuff, right? Like, you've seen so much anime work and anime movies that this actually looks good. Like, I'm not cheating on Swain, like this actually looks pleasing. But I feel like if you look at a professional anime drawer who has he says does it, I'm not sure what that means, but if you look at a really professional 10 out of 10 anime drawing master, he has spent so much time drawing that he can get away with anything. So when you try to copy a really professional 10 out of 10 master, you're gonna come, you know, like a 5 out of 10 or even like 7 out of 10. But if you want to get to that 10 out of 10, I don't think you can do exactly what he's doing, because what he's doing in the past, he's not doing it anymore. You get what I'm saying? Like, that would be like you looking at somebody who's playing football and he's just kicking, you know, he's spinning around the ball and doing backflips, and you'd be like, dude, I want to kick around the ball and do backflips. But that dude with a ball, he spent years just running around a circle with a bow. Like, he didn't do backflips. Like, the backflips are you seeing what he's doing after, you know, 5-10 years, you know. And in the beginning, you're not really seeing what he's doing. I think that's the most confusing thing about not even drawing, but just things that people get good at, is that you're only seeing what they're doing once they're good at it, you know. So I don't know, I'm not the successful here. Yeah, I don't feel like I'm that successful either, though. I mean, I want to talk purely out of experience. I mean, I'm just saying for what I've noticed with my portraits is that I wasn't doing any stylized work in the beginning, you know, and even now I feel like I'm just copying other people. But anyway, my whole point is that it's gonna happen gradually, and you really need to find a balance. You can't just go out and just be like, I'm gonna be, you know, fucking an anime teacher when you haven't even done what an anime teacher or a master has done. You know what I'm saying? These metaphors are getting out of hand. Do you mean, is that good though, or is it bad to be getting out of hand? Anyway, about the hair, but that's my art style. Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah, so anyway, man, just find better references. Like I feel like it's not really the time to be shading right now, but if it brings you some type of joy, maybe you can do it. But actually, that's what I told Frankie the other day, because we had a call and she really started doing like all of these fun drawings. Like, there's nothing wrong with you doing fun drawings, but I feel like you should at least do it like 50-50, you know. Like, if you're gonna do like fun stylized paintings or drawings, like if you're gonna spend 3 hours on this, you need to spend 3 hours before that doing structural shit. So kind of do it as a challenge to yourself. Like, if you have 2 hours a day for drawing, maybe just spend 1 hour doing structural exercises and then spend another hour just working on your fun stuff. But don't let it, you know, get crazy where you're only doing fun stuff, because at the end of the day, like, you're not gonna get as fast, you know what I'm saying? Takes years to look effortless. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like, it takes years to, and that's so crazy, man. And I noticed this like a couple of years ago when I went to this art convention, right? And everybody was sketching in their sketchbook. So I would kind of see like somebody maybe like sketching like a profile of a girl, and he'd do it in like literally 10 seconds. Like, it would just be the most gorgeous profile you've ever seen, right? Like, and it looked stylized. Like, it looked like it was just, and of course that looks like shit, but it just looked like everything was thought out, right? And I was like, dude, how did you do this? And he's like, yeah, I don't know. And then I kind of looked through his sketchbook, and what the fuck did I find out? He's done the same profile sketch over and over again in every single page. Like, it was just something that he kind of like was doing just to kind of like cool off, you know what I'm saying? So the thing is, what you're seeing, like, for example, he might do like a little bit of a line for the eyebrow, and it might look super beautiful, and you try to copy that, but what you're really copying is somebody else's practice, you know? Like, the same, you see somebody do a backflip, you try to do a backflip, and you know, you break your back or something. Like, that doesn't, anyway, I don't even know if I'm making sense at this point. But I'm just trying to tell you, man, like, this structure shit, this is what basically taught me how to paint. And I wish somebody told me that. I wish somebody told me this fucking years ago, so I could kind of like be a lot better right now. And I think that's what all teaching is about. It's just kind of like shortening the time that you got better, so somebody can get faster, better, you know what I'm saying? And it also helps me because none of this shit, like, I didn't understand this shit before I started teaching it. So, you know, this is, for me, it's as useful as it is for you. So anyway, I think that's for Ahmed, man. Like, what I was talking about before that is just kind of like how it's super boring because it has all of the same angles. Like, you can kind of see how in the reference, like, it has a little bit of a twist, you know, and sort of an expressiveness in that face. And listen, how are you gonna get the shading if you don't even have the proportions right? Like, you don't even have the face turning, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't really have the interesting, the character of the face. Like, you can't, like, how are you, like, what's the purpose of you shading if you can't catch that first, you know what I'm saying? But again, if that's fun, do it. But doing the other ones, you know, do the other ones first. Dino said fail faster. Oh, dude, I'm loving it. Dino really dropping the gems over there. Dino, where is your work, buddy? I want to see your work, man. I'm out here giving critiques, man. Send me your work. You seem like a smart dude. So who's next? We have Rebecca. All right, we got just three more people, man. I think it's been an hour already. Oh shit, it's been an hour. Shit. All right. We got Rebecca though. Where's Rebecca? Oh yeah, so Rebecca, she's been doing some pen sketches. Let me see what I wrote. Focus more on proportions over paint. Oh yeah. So Rebecca, she's been trying to do some planes and stuff. But I feel like she's been kind of getting the card, the card in front of the horse. Is that the expression? For Rebecca, man, the best advice I can give you right now is to focus purely on the lay-in and really capturing those proportions. Because what's happening right now is, for example, you see the angle of this face, like you see how it's like this, and the way that she's drawing it, it's super wrong, you know. There's no, like, even the head, like the head is just like, the face is a lot bigger than the back of the head. Like you see how there's like no structure here, like it's all purely hair. So the first thing I want you to do, Rebecca, is not to think that much about hair. Like I feel like you're thinking too much about hair, and that's kind of distracting you. So I want you to actually find some better references where there's like less hair, so you can really study how the head is, where the head is going to be. Ahmed says, oh okay, talk to you Saturday, buddy. So I really want you to find out where this head is going to be. Like, see how the face, like the whole side of the face is going to be much bigger than you did it. Like, see how in proportion, like that's basically what proportions are. Like, how much is this face bigger than the side of this face? You know what I'm saying? Like, that will probably, if this is X, this is probably 2X. And the way that you did it, look at that. If that was X, that's probably 3 or 4 times X. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it doesn't have any relativity. So the best way to practice this is, first of all, to start drawing on references. So if you don't have digital, like if you don't have a tablet, you can actually kind of print out, and this is going to be a lot of work to print out every reference and just draw on top, but I feel like it's going to be super useful. So before you start drawing on paper, to just do these things that I show you other students do, like Rebecca, like see this shit, like when you do it on top of the reference, it kind of like explains a lot of the things that you don't understand, and you can kind of see it more clearly, right? So that would be the first thing. You just kind of like printing out the reference, doing it on top, and then just doing it the lay-in, just doing it freehand, and really thinking about more about proportions rather than planes. Because I see you kind of like what actually happens is, which is weird, is that Rebecca understands, I feel like, more planes than lay-in, because she's really starting to get like the lips, like even like the nose is not that wrong, like the eye looks kind of okay, but there's none of, like, this doesn't look at all like this. And not that I even care that it looks like this, but it doesn't have the same proportion, you know, and structure. So spend more time just doing that video that I did about I forget what it's called, the secret to portrait drawing or something like this, where I showed you just basically the lay-in and how to, you know, how to lay in the whole portrait, and just basically just have the proportions. Like, don't think about the planes. So do more like this, and just practice more, just getting it as close to the reference as possible. Like, you don't need to be doing cheekbones. Aaron says, hey, are you talking about me? Oh yeah, I think Aaron is Rebecca, right? Yeah, I always get it confused because of the name. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Rebecca. So I want you to spend as much. Oh, Becky. Okay, I like that. Becky sounds like a stripper though, but I love it. So I want you to spend more time really capturing the whole proportion with the lay-in. So don't think that much about the nose or the mouth. Like, think more about, you know, like the lay-in of this line, this line. And you have, I feel like, Becky, you have a bigger problem with just relativity. So I want you to really break it down on top of the reference, so you can really see one line with another line. Like, when you do this line like this and you do another line like this, it'll really make a lot more sense. Because right now I feel like you're kind of confused on what the whole thing is, and you're just doing like this weird ass like, what is it called, like more of a character design. It's not even is those caricature. Yeah, you're doing more of a caricature rather than you just doing the whole face. So anyway, do more. I want you to do more and really print out the reference, everything that I said. If you didn't hear what I said, please scroll back, man, because I feel like that's gonna help you a lot. So anyway, this is it for not for today, but for Rebecca. Finally, we have Chris and Josh, man, one of the oldest, and Josh has been doing it. Chris has been doing it. I wanted to talk about Chris. Chris actually did like this repaint of a character, and you can see how much better he's done, man. I'm really happy, man. Look at that improvement. But Chris refuses to do any exercises. He just wants to do some fun drawings. But hey, he's paying me, so I'm gonna critique him. I've told him many times, if you really want to get better, man, like you want to be working on the exercises. But since you want to be fucking around, anyway, I'm still gonna show you what you can improve on. So the first thing, I feel like, because he's been kind of getting better at lightning and just kind of practicing shading and stuff, I feel like the first thing you can improve is make this light a lot smaller, because right now it's way too big and it's taking a lot of the composition. Like, yeah, my OC red, alright, I like how it's red but it's actually black and white. That's cool. Did you use a reference for this, Chris, by the way? It would be kind of interesting to look at the reference. Sorry, I'm having fun drawing again. That's funny that you have to apologize that. It's okay, buddy, man. Whatever floats your boat. If you want to do this, go ahead, man. So it'll be kind of interesting to look at the, oh shit, I didn't save this. It'll be kind of interesting to look at the reference. But anyway, first of all, it's kind of like when you're drawing something like this, like the first thing I thought, by the way, is that her body is flowing, and this just looks like her spine or something. Like when you're drawing something like this, and the skin is overlapping with something else, and it has the background color. Actually, it doesn't have the background color, but actually it kind of does. Like this is the same color as this. It looks like this is the background. Like this actually looks like background, and then I realized it's actually supposed to be skin. So actually, either make it darker or just make it lighter, because right now it just looks like the background and just looks like this weird ass spine cord, you know. He said, you want me to send it? Yeah, sure, send it on my email right now so I can kind of look at it. So that would be the main thing that I mentioned last time, would be just to kind of like differentiate. Why didn't you send it in the first place, man? Everybody, if you're using any type of reference, I want you to, I'll send it on disk. I don't know what disk. Oh no, don't send it on Discord. That's gonna be more confusing. Anyway, let's do it without reference. Next time you're gonna remember to send the reference. So the thing would be just to kind of like be more interesting with the light. Actually can make this even smaller. This hand is, by the way, horrible. I don't know if you used the reference for that hand, but it was kind of tough. So definitely make the fire smaller, and I feel like you can really push that light to make it look like it's coming from below her. So her face would look like for example, you can make her bottom lip, actually that it looks kind of bummy, but you can make her face look like it's more light on the bottom and it's getting darker on the top, because you know, like the light will be coming from the bottom. Like just making the cheekbones a little bit more, you know, a little bit darker, just to kind of have some of that shading in there, because I feel like right now, like there's no shading at all, so it just looks a little bit flat. And they're just pushing the perspective a little bit. Like if you think about, let me get the red. If you think about how the structure of the face is going to be, it's really going to be like this, and then as it's getting away from you, it's really like it's going to get more and more extreme. Send it on your email. Okay, let's look at it. Yeah, let me get my email to the right, to the left. We transfer. I don't really see it though. Are you sure you sent it? Why did you do to her mouth? Does it look good or does it look bad? I think it looks kind of bad. It looks like a wurst or something. I don't know. She didn't have any lips. What did you do? What did you do? It's not my fault. I don't know. She just looks like Slender Man. She doesn't have a mouth. What do you mean? Dude, I don't see it in my email. I always get triggered when I have to. Well, fuck the reference, man. Like next time, I always get triggered when I have to look through my email or something during the live stream. But for anybody, man, if you have some references, please send them to me, so I can like give you a better feedback. I feel like if you add like a highlight on that hair, it's gonna improve it, and just kind of like do this little trick and just kind of like, you know, erase a little bit. What else? I don't know, man. This feels like it's highly stylized, so I can't even like give you that much of a feedback. Maybe forgot to press send. Oh man, you playing with me. You playing with me right now. Shit. Yeah, so think about those lines in the hair, like just pretty much just think a little bit more about, as always, structure. That boobie, that left boobie, I feel like it's way too high. Like it needs to go down a little bit, and you have to think about the whole shoulder anatomy. Like the neck is going to be coming, it's going to be down, going down like this, and then it's going out for the clavicles, and then the shoulder is going to be, actually the shoulder is going to be raised a little bit like you drew it, but it's gonna be like a whole. Yeah, Swain is joining Angel. Alright, I'm happy. Just tell her to decide which one she wants though. So when you're doing the side of the shoulder, you really have to think about like the whole shoulder, like it's just one big piece. Like is like the shoulder is going to be as big as the biceps. Like it's not like the way that you drew it, it's just this really small ass like P, you know what I'm saying? Like you just gotta not P like P, but P like P, you know what I'm saying? So just think about those things and just get the boobie down a little bit, because I feel like it's way too high. I don't know, man. I don't know. Not a lot of critiques. I feel like the composition is way too skewed to one side. Like everything is happening over here, but there's nothing over here. So I don't even know how to fix this, because like you have no background, you have nothing, so it just feels kind of crazy. But if you were to do some interesting lighting, I'd probably, but looking at the ref, the shoot is going up from the perspective. Though let's look at our ref. If you send it on my email, I'm gonna I hope it's there. I hope it's fucking there. All right, it's there. All right, let's look at that ref. Oh, is that you though? Oh, that's so dope that you actually photographed yourself. Oh, that's fucking dope. Yeah, how can you say that the shoulder is going up when you don't even see it? It's going to be going up from the perspective, but not so much, my guy. Like you drew it way too high, and it's not even the problem that it's high, but the problem is that it's not big enough. Like it's just gonna be like, let me see that. Like I feel like that's a lot more right. Like it's just, the shoulder is gonna be bigger, you know what I'm saying? It's not even in. Oh, okay. Anyway, yeah, man, just I don't know, just do more like this, or just work from better references. Like find some actual references. Like you can still be doing fantasy drawings if you like find some cool references online. Like nobody says you gotta follow them perfectly, you know what I'm saying? He said shh. Like for example, look at that. Like that's such a beautiful pose. Like you can find something like this and still imagine like fire, and you know, you can still do your character. Like you can still change her hair, you know what I'm saying? Like just find something that's gonna be a better reference, so you can practice at least a little bit of that. I have a new painting if you want me to send it, or I can hold it off for next week. Damn, Joshua really finishing off painting while I'm live streaming, man. Fucking beast. Nah, man, I think I'm good. Fucking save it for next week, because we have 3 already, and I can't critique it on the live stream because I have some things I got prepared. Oh, so let's get to Joshua's, because it's been an hour and a half. I'm the best anime girl ref. Me too. Now that I shaved my head, I don't know what's up, but so Joshua has been doing it. These illustrations, he's going to try to get in for what is it called? for League of Legends internship. Yeah, internship. So he's been kind of doing these fantasy illustrations that has been kind of like, I don't know, like I've been trying to do some critiques and stuff. This is like the last time we had a call. I actually want him to send this. I was like, hey Joshua, can you send this on my email so I can flex on people that I did the overpaint? He just sent me this. Oh, you're welcome, Chris. You're welcome, buddy. So the thing is, every time you're doing kind of like this, like the most important thing that I wanted to mention to people is everything needs to be kind of connected. Like I feel like when people are doing, you know, like complicated illustrations, I think this one is definitely better because he definitely connected all of the colors. But when you're doing interesting fantasy illustrations, you have to really connect like every other piece with other one, you know, because right now you're not really seeing any green anywhere else. Maybe actually you're seeing it in his eyes a little bit, but I feel like you can push that even more, you know, with the red, with the orange. Like there's just too many colors and it doesn't feel like there's certain type of a mood, you know what I'm saying? The main thing about mood illustrations is that first of all, they're gonna have really interesting lighting because the first one, Joshua just had this generic light. Like they would just have something like, for example, kind of like glowing like this, but you know, for example, like just coming through like a little peak or something, and just pushing your ideas more and more. Like, I think that's the main thing. Like I feel like if you're gonna go with that tree, you can push it so it kind of like it's light coming from everywhere. But anyway, to talk about the new painting that he did, the first thing I wanted to say is, I actually wrote it right here, is commit to stealing. So I don't think there's anything wrong with stealing. Like I'm so happy that he sent the references. He wasn't going to, but I actually made him send something else and then he sent it. But anyway, please, anybody, if you're using any type of references, just send them to me. I'm not gonna judge you. I'm actually gonna congratulate you for using references, and I feel like I'm gonna help you more. So this is actually Ross's new painting. It's beautiful. So I was gonna say, if you're gonna commit to stealing that hand, you can at least steal the whole body. So what that means is that the reason, like when you steal something, right? Like when you steal something, it's not even stealing. It's kind of like whatever, inspiration. You have to realize what makes it good. You know what I'm saying? Like the thing that why this hand looks so good is because the whole body is kind of twisted and it has this curve and action, and then her hand just kind of like brings some order and some groundness. You know what I'm saying? When you draw her body stiff and you draw the hand stiff, like the whole thing becomes stiff. The interesting about thing, Aaron says, thank you, Angel, for always taking your time. Oh, baby, you're paying me for this. I should thank you. This is a double-side deal. This is how this works. But yeah, so the thing that makes this interesting is, you know, she has a lot of action, like a lot of swerviness in the body, and then that hand brings a lot of, you know, like, see how straight it is? So if you were just to paint this straight hand with this straight body, it doesn't look as good. So Joshua, my main thing is, did I just fart? Or that was something else? Alright. So the main thing is that you have to be thinking about what makes this good. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just steal hair and be like, oh, that's gonna look. He says, should I finish this one? I don't know, man. Like, I think, like all of them are kind of like on the same level. So I don't think there's anyone superior to anyone else, you know. But I feel like whichever one just brings you pleasure, I feel like you should finish because it's gonna make you paint more. But I don't know. I think like that's kind of a more of a personal choice. But something that I had an idea with that I wanted to show you is actually this one, because I feel like you can. First of all, I don't really understand the structure in the back. So anyway, this is it for this one. I don't know how you can really improve it, but if you're definitely gonna steal, you're gonna have to realize what makes it interesting. So let me do a quick overpaint of this one because I feel like I can help you the most with. I don't really understand what the circle is. If you were just trying to do a circle like an angel circle, like it would actually be like this, like it will be above her head, like it won't really be behind. Like that's really confusing just to add this circle behind her. Like if maybe if you wanted it to be like a design thing, like kind of like how I people added, like I added in my characters, like a design circle like this, it would kind of have to be bigger, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't just add like this small circle and like an outline, because you can't really say what it is. So that would be like the first thing, is just kind of like remove that. And when it comes to the background, I feel like you can make it a lot darker, just to kind of like make those glowing lights a lot lighter. Like look at that, like if you zoom out, it brings a lot more, just you read it a lot better. So that would be the first thing, is just to think about the darkness and the light. And then I actually had this idea of just making the whole sword like a, what you call it in Star Wars, it's like a lightsaber, whatever. I haven't really watched Star Wars, but I wouldn't really go for yellow though. I'm not a big fan of, like, I don't know why Josh keeps using these green tones and yellow tones and shit. I feel like if you bring the whole spectrum to more of a like a purple, or even maybe like a cyan or something, I feel like it's gonna bring out a lot more of that magical feel. So let me actually change a little bit of those colors, maybe to like an orange or something. I don't know. This is gonna look horrible, by the way. Don't get your hopes up. Nobody get your hopes up. Let me bring some colors in though. So that would be the first thing, is to just make the sword look like it's glowing, so you can really bring in some interesting light. Because I know, Joshua, I know what reference you use, by the way. I've seen this reference a lot, and I don't know what you used for the bottom, but dude, this really looks like you just took a girl. You know what? The best critique that anybody has given me about illustrations is that all of my characters, and this is pretty much valid for any beginner and intermediate, is that all of your characters look like cosplayers. So they don't really look like the character that you're trying to paint. They more look like people who dressed up like the character, you know? And that's because that's exactly what it is. Like you keep just drawing people that you're seeing from references dress up like somebody else, you know what I'm saying? Like you're not really a drawing a real character. Like when Ross is drawing a character, and of course I'm saying this just to make you feel bad. No, I'm saying this because it just comes with practice. Like when Ross did this character, even though he used references, he still made it look like a new character, because he has a lot of practice of, you know, understanding form and design and all this shit. When you do a character, it just looks like you just grabbed a lot of pieces and you put them together, and now it just looks like, you know, a cosplay. But not to bring it down though, it looks kind of cool with the hair. Like the hair is kind of like, I feel like it's a good painting, it's just not a good illustration. Does that make sense? Like you're getting better with painting, but that illustration shit is gonna take a lot. Like even, I don't know, it's gonna be super hard, and you're gonna have to practice a lot with lightning, storytelling, all this shit. But a big thing, by the way, is every time you have connecting pieces like this, for example the background and the hair, you either have to make it one super bright than the other one, or super darker, or you have to blow out the edge. But never ever to do this thing where they're like super similar, because it looks confusing to the eye. So you can either blow out the whole edge and just leave it kind of like wandering, or you can actually add some light and make that hair look like it's has some of that rim lightning, you know. But don't just leave it like this, because now it just, your eye is just kind of wandering there, and you're just wondering what happens. So the main thing would be like just more interesting light, because right now it just looks like it's completely boring. So maybe have some of that glowing what was that noise, by the way? Am I still streaming and shit? Alright. So maybe make some of that glow from the, actually let me get some color dodge. Some of that glow from the sword, like a rim light to the face. That's a cheap trick, by the way. I wouldn't really advise anybody to do this. I'm just doing this for the overpaint. But if you were to really make this glow, this sword glow, I wouldn't really go with that Call of Dodge shit. But anyway, so maybe make some of that rim light, even though it's not gonna really be rim light, because what I'm painting right now would be if the light is coming from the back. Like if it was coming from the front like this, it would be around the whole face, but it would still be more interesting than what you have right now, which is just basically like this standard ass light. Like, people don't realize, man, like when you're doing studies, it's okay to have light like this, but when you have an illustration like that, doesn't say anything about the character. Like if you look at any interesting illustrators, you know, like D&D, you know, like League of Legends, like can you imagine a League of Legends character just having like a basic type of light? You know what I'm saying? Like they would always have from the bottom or from the back or something. Like it'd never be just a generic type of light. So that would be the first thing, is just coming up with an interesting composition and interesting type of light. The other thing is you have to be thinking about the whole swing. Like every illustration needs to have like an interesting movement or something. Like this, pretty much what I'm guessing is you took a reference of somebody just holding a sword like this. You know, if you can't do it to the hands and the body, at least do it to the face. Like at least make it, you know, like for example, what would happen if I'll be like, what would happen if nothing? But why can't I paint? Oh, because it's only 500 pixels. Let's get it up a little bit. So I'm thinking about changing her eyes to kind of look down or something, like to make it look like it's there's just some story there. Like right now, what is she looking at? Like it looks generic as hell. You know what I'm saying? Like if she's looking down or something, at least now it can be like, oh, what are you looking at? You know what I'm saying? Like now it's just there's like the most important thing about illustrations, and I'm not saying like I understand a lot, because I really don't, would be to just make it interesting. Like I remember I was asking somebody for a critique back when I was doing more illustrated, and somebody was like, just make it interesting. Like that's all I remember. It's just, how can you make this more interesting, you know? But the thing is, when you're trying to make it more interesting, like it actually requires a lot more effort, you know, and a lot more skill. Like you're not just drawing like the generic portrait that you're used to, but you're actually just like, dude, I can't even get these fucking eyes right. Dude, why am I even a teacher, man? Whatever. Dude, now it looks horrible. You know what? I hate doing fucking overpaints on top of illustrations. It's too much pressure. I don't feel like I'm ready. Chris says, okay, I have to go to the gym, but I'm pumping iron now. Anyway, see you guys on Thursday. All right, buddy. See you on Thursday, man. I'm gonna be doing a critique for 5 more minutes anyway. Anyway, but just that little bit of a change of an eye, I feel like it just helps a little bit more with the mood. Maybe adding like that ring or something. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like just the most important thing is just creating interesting compositions and creating interesting you know, figures and interesting movements. But how are you gonna do that if you don't understand it? That's why I don't really feel like I'm doing illustrations right now. Anyway, I hope this fucking helps. I don't know, keep doing those. I don't know if I'm even gonna be able to help. I can do some, oh, actually I was gonna talk about this portrait actually. Let me talk about it a couple of more minutes. I actually but I feel like I've seen every fucking image on Pinterest. I remember this is actually I think I have it in my files. This is dude, would it be super funny if I find it. I remember this reference. It's of this kind of like chick with kind of longer hair. She's just kind of like looking like this, and I remember that light as soon as I remember that reference. Anyway, I'm not gonna look for it now. But the important thing about this one, you have the light, like you have the more of the interesting colors, but I feel like the edges are the biggest problem in here. And this, by the way, if you're gonna draw any type of clothing, you really need to get a reference, because otherwise it just ends up looking goofy as hell. Like if this was actually kind of in real life, like, you know, the structure, I don't even know how it would be. I just know it wouldn't be like this, you know what I'm saying? Like, anytime you're drawing something like this, and by the way, the textures, this would be really cool texture if everything was on top of this. He said, God damn it. I don't know, buddy. I don't know what you're trying to do, man. Like, I don't know what you expect. You're trying to do illustrations for fucking people that have been drawing for 7 years. And it's like, what do you expect? You know what I'm saying? But if you're having fun and that's what you want to do, you know, again, no judgment. But, I mean, there's judgment. There's definitely going to be always judgment because I'm a piece of shit. But, anyway, I feel like I can help you much better with portraits. So, what was I going to say? Yeah, find better references and definitely, like, if you're doing textures like this, like, you can't have the texture of detail like this and then you have this eyebrow. Like, how can you look at this eyebrow and then, like, the face is supposed to be the focal point, so anybody would look at the face, but then you look at the shoulder and you're like, wait, like, now you can definitely tell that this is a texture and this is your real level of painting, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not congruent. And what's up with her side face, by the way? Like, is it supposed to be blood? Is it supposed to be a tattoo? Like, you can't really tell. Like, you have to really make it, like, it's weird because this red is just only in the shadow. So if it's not in the light, is it like gold or something? Like, I don't know, whatever it is, it's not readable. Like, it's a couple of things about illustrations. It's mood, composition, perspective, and just readability. Like, to be able to look at a painting and just go like, oh, like, just be like dropping a jaw. Like, for example, if you look at, I don't know if I even save them anymore, like the League of Legends ones, I used to have a whole folder of those. It's just all about you just kind of gasping, like being like, wow, this is like, you can look at any good illustration and it wouldn't even require for you to zoom in. Like, if you look at all of these ones that I kind of have saved, and they're not all that good, but let's see, like, for example, this one, like, see how this is like the whole shape, like the whole colors, like everything is just you know what I'm saying? Like, you just look at this from far away and it would just be like, damn, like, you know what I'm saying? But again, this is somebody who's been painting for like 10-20 years, so you can't really expect to have that. Anyway, I've been ranting a lot. I don't really know what to say. I feel like this is out of your level, and it's also out of mine for me to teach you. But we're getting there, though. We're getting there with just more practice. As always, I'm here to practice with you. So thank you so much for watching, man. This is it for this week. Please send me more. I'm gonna be here back. You know what it is, every week, man, on Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching. Me and my bald head. Wish you a great fucking day. So I love you. Keep pushing. Gonna talk to you next week, man. Peace.